Everybody, hello and welcome to another episode of the Zactivist Speaks On, and we are getting ready to delve into a 5-week series that really talks about and explores the opportunities available for teachers to earn extra income, whether it be a side hustle or maybe even engage in a whole new career. We've been talking about the looming teacher shortage on this opportunity from the beginning, and now it's time to talk about what do we do to shift from retaining teachers to embracing the need that some people have to actually leave the field, and what can they do? And to help me talk about this and to really delve deeper is really one of the most successful brands in the business around side hustles, the one and the only Dr. Shaun Woodly. Dr. Woodly, how are you doing, my friend, and welcome.
My brother Zach, thank you so much, man. I'm doing very, very well. I appreciate the opportunity to join you on the platform, man. Thank you so much.
You know, it is an honor to have you here. You are, again, when I say one of the hardest working men in education, that can't be, an understatement. But knowing, if I think you're a Libra, right?
That's correct. Yep.
See, finding that out, you know what I'm saying? Finding out you're a Libra, it made me recalibrate. Yeah, he's a hard working man. He's also a smart working man because Libras figure out the balance. That's why they are Libras.
Man, listen here. I know that balance is a daily struggle. Trust me. I understand.
So, one thing that I definitely want to talk about and I definitely want to get into is what motivated you in the very beginning to even launch the concept of earning money as an educator on the side. Like, what motivated you to do that in the very beginning?
I saw it growing up. Like, my dad always had multiple streams of income. I grew up in watching my dad work a regular job, start his own business as a custodian, janitorial services, and play at the church. So when I was in 6th grade, I started playing at the church. I had a love for music and started playing the drums. And so from 6th grade, I was 11, 12 years old. I started getting me a little piece of change. It was paying me 20, 25 bucks a Sunday, but that added up. And then I think as I started getting older, I would get like 50 bucks a week, and that was all right to me as like somebody in, middle school, going into high school, extra 50 bucks a week. And then I was working in high school, still playing the drums, going to school full time, and then working at Old Navy. So it was always like, it was always something for me. I've always had multiple streams of income. When I got to college, I had to slow that down. All that stopped because I was in the band, of course, full-time student, ended up pledging a frat, all that kind of stuff. And so I didn't have the opportunity. But when I got home, I picked up right where I left off during the summer, jumped right back on them drums at the church for the summer, had a summer job, and kept it moving. And so when I can go ahead.
No. So literally, you have always been someone who sought out opportunities beyond what was just automatically given to you, because you believed that there was multiple streams of income, and you were reared to have that mindset that you need multiple streams of income coming in.
I saw it growing up. My dad, he was just the example, like, and then I didn't realize it at the time, but like now in hindsight, being 2020, it was like, wow, I see why he did this. I heard it put this way, like one source of income is too close to none. And so that was just like, yeah. And
wait a minute, that's a quote. Oh, look, I got my notes. See, for most educators out there, again, this transcends education.
Yeah,
this is something that goes for absolutely every single person out there who has a job, who is Dr. Tony. I'm excited too, and who is considering multiple things. And that was a quote. A quotable moment, and let me pull out my notes. And the quote is, again, one source of income is too close to none.
Yeah, I can't take credit for that one. I heard somebody that I look up to in this entrepreneurship space. His name is Nehemiah Davis. Good dude. But yeah, I heard him say that, and you ever hear somebody say something that's like, you know that your path of thinking aligns with someone, and then you hear somebody say something that perfectly aligns with that. And it's like, yes, like Yeah, that immediately resonated with me because I've always lived that. Even going into becoming a teacher, even when I couldn't, kind of have as many side hustles as I did before, I kind of made it work.
That is something. I'm telling you something. I know that
Hmm.
for our educators who are either watching this live or who are going to catch this on YouTube or on the playback, and for my friends out there, get in the chat. You have questions, things you want to know, put them in the chat box. Let
Hmm.
us know what they are. There are even maybe topics that you want me to go deeper on in the 5 weeks that I'm going to address. That please also put it in.
Hmm.
How you hit the point, right? There are educators out there who love what they do, who are
Yes.
called to do what they're doing in this moment, right?
Correct.
And we'll
Yep.
talk about calling a little bit later. But for those people who know that they're called to be in the field at this moment, in
Yep.
the trenches, and they are being overworked, they
Hmm.
are stressed to the max. They're struggling to find time for themselves, let alone find time for a side hustle. How are you able to bring that in? How are you able to do your job and do it well because you received accolades, you received opportunities to present, you received opportunities to coach?
Yep.
How did you do it? What is the advice you can give those educators right now?
Well, first and foremost, I believe a big part of it was that I was always fortunate enough to be in schools and a part of schools where I feel like I was supported. And I know that that is not always the case. I've very, except for one particular instance, the principals under whom I served, I was always able to have a great connection and relationship with. So going to work, even though my salary may not reflect the value that us educators bring into this world, at least I wasn't fighting an uphill battle with administration. That was huge. And for those that are not in circumstance, like we have this fear of leaving. Like if you're not in the best school, if you're not in the best circumstances, it's a privilege for them to have you leave. Go somewhere where you will be appreciated. Go somewhere because there are plenty of schools that have good leadership, that have competent leadership, that have people who are well versed in social emotional skills and can bring you under their tutelage to help you grow as a teacher, as a leader, and believe it or not, that will help you to grow as an entrepreneur. Because one of the things that you will not do is you cannot function and think creatively that is necessary for entrepreneurship when you're stressed.
That is another key quotable moment. You cannot function creatively when you are stressed. And we
Yeah,
hit that at minute 7:30. That's a great point, right? And I
yeah.
think that you hit the nail on the head. Now, Annette said, usually black men are supported and appreciated. Now, Annette, now you know that my life story tells a different tale.
Mm,
It's not, I don't agree with that at all. It's not a matter of being a black male or a male education, although they are valued at the moment by a lot of media outlets. What it comes down to is leadership.
yes.
Good leadership recognizes good people, and a good leader is going to pour into you, develop you, and push you forever. Because
Yes.
someone who is tethered to your mission and tethered to your purpose will always be there for you. And I know you know that. Now, Doctor, and so don't be afraid. And I think the key is to leave a bad leadership situation because
Correct.
children need you everywhere. And this
That's
will
correct.
be a monumental year for educators all around the United States to make that move because
Mm,
every school in this country will be looking for good teachers who are committed to the work if that is what you are called to do. Now, Dr. Willie, there are educators out there
hmm
who really want to make money on the side. They
hmm
need to make money on the side. They want to
Yep.
stay in their job. They want to have their side hustle, but they have absolutely no idea where to start. If you
Yes.
could give them some advice, where would you say this is how you start the journey of really determining what your real side hustle should be?
Two things. Figure out what your focus needs to be and then get around the right people. You need to change your environment. Reason I say that is because in the program that I run for educators that aspire to be or that are currently speakers and aspire to grow as speakers and entrepreneurs and consultants, one of the things that we teach is a Japanese principle called ikigai. It's basically, and you might have seen it, but it's the alignment of what you're good at. Think of like a Venn diagram. The top circle is what you're good at. The bottom circle is a problem that the world has, or in our case, a problem that education has. This circle is what you can get paid for. And the other circle is, I want to say, aligned with your purpose. And we go through specific exercises to figure out what those things can be. And that center, that alignment can really, really help. And it really boils down to asking yourself and being a reflective practitioner, doing things that you should already be doing as an educator, but asking yourself certain questions like, for example, what is it that people normally come to you for? Like, you know that when this teacher, that teacher, or this person comes to you to ask you about specific advice, and you just give it, you don't even think about it. And one of the biggest things people do is they undervalue their skills. People always, they feel like because it comes easy to me, everybody can do it. And so they don't put value on it. It's not true. It's worst thing you could do. And you're sitting on your profits. You're wasting your profits.
See, you know what? I'm going to tell you something right here. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to even get big to say it, right? Like, now I understand why Oprah would start singing on her show and making all those crazy, funny sounds, and why she created the whole concept of an aha moment. Because this knowledge is absolutely resonating. Everything you're saying is everything I agree with. It's in complete alignment, and I know it to be true. Like that, I know that to be true. So before we even go any further, here, let's throw in an absolute value bomb for this audience. How can they connect to your network for aspiring entrepreneurs in the education space? Like, how can they even connect to that?
Sure. Basically, if you go to my Instagram page, that's where I'm most active. Teach, Hustle, Inspire.
Wait a minute now, because see, I do my research. Okay, I do my research on my guests, and I know that you have a whole other Instagram persona out in the world. We'll talk about that shortly, because from what I could tell, you recently earned a brand new title, a new accolade. Okay. But see, I'm gonna save that. I'm not gonna even say it yet. I'm gonna say it because I saw that I died laughing. But it's a great. But then again, I understand. Libras, you guys are gifted.
Sure.
The gifts of Venus.
But where I'm most active is at Teach, Hustle, Inspire, or even Twitter. It's at Shaun Woodly, and you'll see links to everything on my website. There is a free ebook that I have. You'll find the link right in the links to my program. It's a free link on 5 tips to maximize your skills and abilities as an aspiring leader. As an aspiring speaker or consultant. You can find that right at Teach, Hustle, Inspire, and just click the link in my bio, and it'll take you right there. That's the easiest way.
Easiest way to connect with you and get into like the loop of all the amazing things you do. And when we talk about amazing things, it's actually quite a few amazing things, right? So, this is a published author of Move the Class, how to speak, how to spark engagement and motivation in urban and culturally diverse classrooms. And right now in America, that's every classroom. There is no classroom that doesn't have one student of color or one member of the LGBTQIA plus community or one student from a religious background that is not considered to be a majority religion. So it's absolutely essential that you know how to motivate, engage, inspire, and connect with these learners. I strongly recommend Move the Class. But then also you have ongoing events for your community. You have a beautiful network of connected edupreneurs. And this year in January, you had the Build on the Side conference. I was an attendee and got my amazing swag bag. But again, letting my audience know I've been a fan of Dr. Woodly for a while as I'm wearing my old school inspired t-shirt. He has a whole new set of really creative and well done merchandise. We'll talk about the merchandise as well. Sure. But I want to talk to you about Build on the Side. And I want you to tell, first and foremost, tell our guests what this conference was about. And then I'm going to ask you or have you tell us what was the most valuable piece of information that you feel your participants took away from this event?
That's a good question. All right, let me let the subconscious process that for a minute while I tell you.
Yeah, now I'll come back to that question. You just focus on tell us what is this conference?
Build on the Side was born out of the need, basically. And as you've alluded to, many educators, we understand that we have value in this world that we are not being compensated for. And so even if let's just say in a perfect world in some random multiverse that we were compensated for the value that we provide on this earth, there are still many people who have talents, gifts, skills, and desires to be entrepreneurs, to take the things that they are good at, the services that they give, sometimes even for free, and be compensated for them. So this was all about learning the skills and abilities of successful education entrepreneurs, because everybody that I had speak at that conference was someone who was either is or was an educator and has experience as an entrepreneur and has receipts to prove it. Like, that was very, very important to me. And so each of the speakers, we had sessions on everything from branding, marketing, constructing speaking engagements, being rebooked for speaking engagements, content creation for teachers, paid teachers. I mean, everything. And I was just very, very proud of the list of speakers that we had attend. We had 15 total sessions over 2 days, and just the level of excitement that was around where it was, I don't know, but the level of excitement for and the participation. I mean, the chat was just on fire, and it was a lot to keep up with. But that the energy that was around that, I was like, yes, this is what we need.
Yep, everything you said, 100% factual. Again, I was there. High energy, high involvement. Number one, yeah, and this is what I was going to ask you now. When is the next one? That's part one.
I don't know, and because what
Sometimes
people
when
don't
you miss out,
understand,
you miss out.
yeah, but you haven't missed out totally, because the replay is still available. If you go to buildontheside.com, she
Say
says,
it again, because that was my
yeah.
next question. Can you
Mhm.
still pay for this conference even though it has passed?
Yes, you can still access the event replay. The total event replay is still available at buildontheside.com. And that's also, I believe, in the link in profile, in my buildontheside.com in
How
my
much?
Instagram.
How much they got to drop?
Sure. It's half the price of the live event. So it's $97.
$97. And for any, because I know that for educators, any investment may be a stretch at times. And we're going to talk about that at the end. We're going to talk about that. These people know me too well. They are so connected into my spirit. She's laughing, y'all laughing, but really, I am going to sponsor some educators.
Awesome.
So what you're going to do is you're going to stick with me, and there's some requirements, but I have an announcement, something that God laid on my heart as I was really thinking about how can I do my part to help educators get the resources, the tools they need to move forward and with the dreams that God has put in their heart. We talked a little bit earlier, and I'm going to go to you, Shaun, about the value bombs that you took away. Like, what was the key learning that just really resonated with you that you feel like I got to share this I want just one great value bomb from one of your great presenters. So you think about that. But while you think about that, I'm gonna say this. And I was talking a little earlier, we talked about calling. And I do believe fully with all my heart that being an educator is a calling over your life if you're good at it. Yes. And I do believe that for those of us who excel in this field, it's a calling that we will be for the rest of our lives. For those who know me, I'm no longer in the public education space, but I'm always going to be an educator because that is what God has called me to do. Everything in my life, every experience, every learning opportunity, all led to me being who I am today. Being an educator is a calling, but working at a school is not a calling. Working at a specific place, being in that room, that's not a calling. You're called that's a season. Okay. I want to clarify.
Talk about it.
That's a season in your life. There's a season in your life that you're meant to be in a place. There's a season in your life that you're meant to have these different kids cycle through your classroom and you're meant to touch their lives. But when that season comes to an end, it's time to move forward and it's time to move on so that you can enter into your next season and the person who's meant to be in that classroom can enter into theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that no one is teaching us and no one is telling us because they want us to stay there forever. And some of us are meant to be there for 30 years, 45 years. That's the calling over their life, but it's not the calling for everyone. And I firmly believe that when you have a rumbling and a stirring inside of you that's telling you maybe I should leave, or maybe I should try this, or maybe I should venture out, you need to do it because it is God whispering to you that the small winds of change blowing. And those winds of change can come as a smooth breeze that can quickly turn to a hurricane force gale if you are not careful, because you will be eventually where you are meant to be. Annette says, don't overstay your welcome. So with that being said, I won't talk too much. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Woodly, and you can tell us about that key piece of knowledge that you gained.
There were so many gems dropped. One thing that stuck with me was something that I personally struggled with. And I want to say it was Aaron Waters who touched on this, talking about not being afraid to step out there and make some more money. And the reason it was, she didn't say that, I'm paraphrasing, but I believe it was her that was part of her session talked about this. And what this made me think of was some of the stigma that goes around trying to make money, how it can be frowned upon, how it has this money is the root of all evil. You should be content with what you have. Like, I don't deserve abundance. Like, I can't, like, just that type of mentality, that limiting, you take what you get type of situation where we a lot of times feel guilty for wanting more. And I don't subscribe to that. I did, but I don't anymore. And to be truth be told, it is something that I still am working through, but I understand that there's more for me and there's nothing wrong with that.
Big facts. I ain't never struggled with that. Okay, let me clarify with you right here, right now. See, I've never struggled with that because I deconstructed that a long time ago. So many in the education world have the mentality or around money because, see, we're taught that we have to be servants and we have to sacrifice everything for the field. We have to sacrifice everything for the children. You have a family at home, but your family has to come second to these kids. You're afraid of getting COVID, but you better walk into that classroom and take that mask off because it makes some of your parents feel uncomfortable. It's a continuous clarion call to sacrifice, 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 and that's how it becomes embedded that you don't deserve the abundance that everyone else does. I promise you this: in the corporate world, my friends who have been in business from the very beginning have no qualms about making money because they're willing to do any and everything to get it. So we have to embrace that this money is for what it is.
Yeah.
You have to look at money and see money for what it is. It doesn't define you. It really doesn't add a whole lot of increased value to you, but you need it in a capitalistic society. So you better go out there and you better get it. Now, listen, Shaun, I got so many things that I really need to get from you tonight. But this is something because I really always want to make sure that we go into this and really dig into what it takes for other people to actually do what they need to do to be empowered to move forward. And so I want to know this, when you look at all the things that have given you a leg up, or have been credited for your success, what is the one thing that receives the most credit? This is the one thing that I can say is why I am Dr. Shaun Woodly and why I'm able to be a successful entrepreneur.
I would have to. I can point to a couple of different things, but at the end of the day, I have to really boil it down to identity. Identity. When you talked about calling before, that resonated with me because what I've come to understand is that your calling can evolve. For me, my calling at one point in my life, at a certain season, was to be in that classroom. And what I had to understand is that even though when I got in that classroom, I was okay. I had my successes, I had my failures, but I grew. just like I had to grow and stumble and fall and get up and stumble and fall and show up every single day for those students and for myself. I grew over my 10 years in the K-12 classroom, and I grew over my 5 years in the university classroom. And what I had to understand was, with a calling, that calling evolved from K-12 to universities to entrepreneurship. And what I had to really take in, and I heard it phrased this way, so I can't take credit for it, is we have this fear sometimes of that evolution of your calling, because you have to, I had to step outside of my comfort zone to move from one calling, if you will, to the next when it evolved. Technically speaking, even though I'm not in the classroom in the traditional sense, I still teach. I teach from the stage. I teach with the workshops and the consulting that I do. I still teach because I'm unlocking intellectual treasure every single time I open my mouth. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And what I had to understand to step into this role the way I really needed to step into it is that God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies those who he calls. And
Say it
that
again.
has, I had to understand that.
Say it again.
God does not call the qualified. He qualifies those who he calls. And that was so comforting to me, because that let me know that I can step into my calling and grow. And one of the things that I had to really embrace was the identity. I had to embrace the identity of a teacher. Even before I was a teacher, I had to embrace the identity of a college professor before I was a college professor. And I had to embrace the identity of a successful entrepreneur before I was a successful entrepreneur. I need a Hammond organ to back me up right now.
You do. You need a whole amen corner. But in addition to that, like, that is such a beautiful statement, because it so supports this amazing TikTok that I saw from like this really great middle-aged psychologist on the app. And I need to go back and find it. I hope I liked it or heard it, because what he was saying was the reason why people struggle with new habits is that they don't embody the identity of what it is they want to become. Yes. Hear it again. That's exactly what Dr. Woodly just said. People are not embodying the identity of what they want to become. And I reflected real quick and I was like, you know what? Wow, that's powerful, because it's exactly what I did as a runner. I hate running. Mm-hmm. I don't pretend to like being a runner. I hate running. I can't stay. I don't like it. I never want to go. I want to find every reason in America to not get up and go and do these ridiculous races, but I do them because I'm a runner. And the whole concept in my mind that I am a runner, and because I'm a runner, I can't miss a Publix half marathon. No runner in Atlanta is going to miss the Publix. That mental shift was so key in really committing myself to the goals that I have. That is, again, to have you back that up, I think was another phenomenal point. And I would have to say, that's right, Dr. Johnson. He needs all the amens in the corner. You know, because again, when you look at all that you have achieved, like, I mean, it's so much, and that's the wrong clip, but look at this. This man was connected to the Study Sync curriculum, sponsored right here, so many things. And again, if you don't have MC Moves to Class, you need to get MC Moves to Class, because it's full of value bombs, full of information that's real world applicable. This is an article that to me really highlighted the need to have this conversation. Mm-hmm. Now I'm making this a little bit bigger. This is in the Wall Street Journal. And what I'm planning to do is do a lot more around these. It's like a series of articles, but it talks about how teachers are leaving the classroom and corporate America is hiring them quickly. I have a lot of thoughts, and something I'll explore like after the legislative session comes to an end, around why public education is under assault. Because I think it's a lot more involved trying to get teachers out of classrooms than just simply, you know, the fatigue of the year. But but nonetheless, as to the why, it is still happening. I want us to do, and every time I do this, I have a little activity that we go through, my speaker and we come up with like one thing for an infographic. So this is what I want to know. I want to know from your perspective, what we're going to come up with the top 5 transferable skills that every educator has that translates over into the world of entrepreneurship or corporate America. So we're going to go back for, and I can go, you know, we go back and forth, one for one. We're going to come up with 5. Okay. I can go first, or, you know, if you want. And, you know, I would have to say that the number one skill that I think of that's transferable, I won't even say, I won't rank them yet. I'll say the first skill that comes to mind for me is the ability to strategically plan. Every good educator out there knows how to strategically plan because you do it with your lessons. You organize your lessons from how to introduce material to how to conclude that material and how to ensure practice occurs in between. So I would say that the skill of being able to strategically plan, that's right, Annette, the ability to plan strategically is a key skill that everybody wants in the world of work, because that is something that a lot of positions need, but they don't train you for. And people in the workforce, they lack it.
Indeed. I can go in a couple of different directions, but when we're talking about planning, I would also back that up by saying the ability to redirect, or and the emphasis on real-time decision making when that plan doesn't go, when, as they say, when of mice and men, the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. So when that plan goes left when it was supposed to go right, what you going to do? That is a skill that teachers use literally every single day.
Every day. Every day. The ability to redirect in real time, because that lesson plan is not working out. And it has happened to all of us multiple times in a given year. You have a lesson that you think is going to be a home run, and it's not resonating. You change on the dime, you pivot immediately, you save the day. And as well as learning, I think that is a phenomenal example. When I think about number 3, skill that is most transferable, I would have to say that I'm trying to figure out a way to talk about the punctuality and the ability of the teacher to stay the course. Teachers are always, good teachers come to work early and they stay late. When they typically go out into the corporate world, they are amazed at the flexibility of everybody else's day. Like the fact that you can actually run to target is next level thinking or reality for a teacher. The fact that you can even just go to the bathroom when you need to go to the bathroom in the middle of the day is a next level realization for a teacher. So I think that I need to find a way. I would say that it's the ability to set a course and then stay the course with punctuality and commitment. You know what it is? Stamina. Teachers have, that's what I need to say. Number 3, teachers have work stamina that is unmatched. That's what it is. Work stamina.
Nice. I like it. I like it. I would say number 4, good relationship management, because the best teachers that you'll ever see understand that their job is not tactical, but it is relational. And relating with, if you're lucky, you have a class size of 20, 25 kids, but it can be an upwards of 30, 35 kids. And relating and connecting with literally 30 to 35 different personalities is a skill that you cannot pay for. Relationship management.
Huge. You know what, that is absolutely, and I never thought about it that way, but everything, if you was lucky, but everything that you need beyond, right? Like I'm currently in a sales-based role, and it's all about the relationships. It's consistently about the relationships. And I'm going to say that my number 5, I have to find another way of wording this, is that teachers have the ability to take whoever that they typically know who they are. They have an identified identity or developed an authentic sense of who they are, and they know how to bring that to the work. So, and what I mean by that is I was a very extroverted, out loud teacher, and very creative in a lot of ways, very performative in a lot of ways, and got results from it. I was a strict teacher in terms of like my expectations, they were exceptionally high, but kids would always say they laughed more in my class than they laughed in any other class. But with that being said, I was known for great classroom management. So I knew how to control that environment, but I always marveled at all the other teachers who were so phenomenal, people who were great, who did not have that personality. To me, they had no personality, but they were extremely effective. So it made me realize you don't have to be extroverted to be amazing. You can actually, the most teachers that I knew who were great were really introverted. They were very quiet people, and they did amazing work in that classroom. So I need to find a way of saying the ability to take, I guess what I would say is they have the ability to show up as their authentic selves and use the skills that they have to impact the work.
I would agree with that.
So
I
I think
definitely agree.
so. And that gave me a yikes. Well, I can be a little scared. So I think that's going to make for Shaun a really great infomercial. Infographic, all based
Yeah.
on this article. Is our own way of saying these are the reasons why teachers are hot in the workforce,
Hmm.
um, and where they go. So one thing that is always to me when I look at you, I look at all that you've done, I look at all that you've achieved, is how you were able to do it. And this is what I want to know. Like, one, I have actually four short answer questions that I think will be beneficial to the audience. And number one is, what is the most side hustle income you have earned in 1 year while you were in the classroom? Not now, but when you were actually in that classroom, what is the most side hustle income that you've earned in a given year?
230,000.
Unbelievable. Now
Yeah.
I need you to hear that. This man earned as a side hustle $230,000 while still teaching children in a
Correct.
classroom.
I was teaching. I was a college professor at the
Yeah.
time, but when I started my consulting, but yes.
Let me tell you, still teaching learners, that is a
Yeah.
huge amount of money, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to think about that. Now, listen, now I'm not going to ask this question. That's a question. So I think people going to know what you did. I'm not going to ask that question because I want them to seek you out in that group to find out. You need to find out what did he do or what can I now do to do that. Or because again, sometimes people look at what someone has done and try to imitate that. That's not what you do. You need to find your own path, and it could be your own. You can make $230,000 knitting sweaters. You can make $230,000 starting your own, whatever it is. You have to find that passion within yourself and connect it to your purpose. The next question I have is this: what has been when you look at not yourself, but all the different entrepreneurs that you've come in contact with? What do you think is the most lucrative way to earn passive income? For those who are watching who may not know what that term means, it means something that's going to just bring money in for you, that you create something and you just let it loose in the universe and the money flows in. What do you think is the most lucrative way of doing that?
Two things that give you the same answer. Number one, having a repository of information, your intellectual property housed somewhere, particularly most people do it as an online course. But with that online course that you have to be very, very careful. Now, let me give you a scenario here. If I am a math teacher and I know that I am a fantastic fifth grade math teacher, and a lot of fifth grade students struggle with math, and I have figured out how to get my fifth grade math students past this concept, and I've been doing it, banging it out year after year after year. I can take the skills and knowledge that I have acquired teaching my math students, put that in an online course, and then literally have 2, 3 modules dripped over, one lesson a week or however you decide to do it. And that can live. I created one time and sell it over and over and over again. But the thing about that is that it's more than just set it and forget it, because it has to be nurtured. And more importantly, you have to build an audience around it and you have to have a system around it. So sometimes people will go and put all this work into creating an online course and then just be like, ta-da, it's done. And then it's crickets when you've taken no time to build any anticipation, to build up any audience, to let people know that this thing exists, to let them know how it can help them, to let them know that you are an expert in this area. There's a method to this.
Annette wants to know, well, if I make an online course, how can I avoid thievery?
What do you mean? Like if you just have your information out there and somebody like
Right.
copies
And
it?
so here, like an example,
Mm-hmm.
someone buys for the so let's say someone buys like, an online, let's say an online course about, using Twitter.
Okay.
And then they have it and they share it out with like 20 different people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there are ways to protect it so that depending on the housing system that you use, like, for example, what I would not do is, and some people do this, is they have their program on YouTube, but it's like private links. So as long as you have the link, you can view it, but it's not public. Like you just can't search YouTube. What that means though is if somebody shares that link, then other people can get access to your intellectual property without you being aware of that. It's free though, so there's a cost. The programs that I'm talking about using, I use a platform called Kajabi. There's also something called Teachable, where it's a paywall. Your information lives behind a paywall, and people have to log in to their account to access that information.
So good. There you go. So some of the things are maybe a little bit more loose. You're saying hands down, Teachable. I've heard of that. Kajabi, I've heard of that. Those are ways that you know what you put out there is protected and covered. So the next question is, there are a lot of resources that you need to do your work, like Kajabi, like Teachable. As an entrepreneur in the space that you're in, what are 3 resources that you use that's worth the money? Because people, like Annette just said earlier, I'm starting my LLC. These are the 3 resources that you would say, I use these, they're invaluable. And while you think, I can give 3, right?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So while he's thinking on his 3, I'll tell you hands down, for streaming, I use StreamYard. It is a subscription that I pay. They have a free version, but I use a paid version. Invaluable. I use it weekly, multiple times. As you guys who are watching, I'm able to stream to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter, all at the same time, the exact same thing. Also, Canva. I use Canva. It's very intuitive. I am not a designer. I have some design practice, having been a journalism teacher doing yearbook, but Canva takes my design skills to the next level and makes it really easy to create my own graphics, which I believe is an essential part of having and building a brand on the side. You have to be able to create the materials that you need all in one beautiful style that will resonate with your followers, which is something that Dr. Woodly does masterfully. His branding is some of the best I've ever seen of anyone in education. It's a clean eye. It's a beautiful aesthetic, well done, organized, and it's really good compared to a lot of our peers, Doc. A lot of our peers, they do a horrible job with their branding. This stuff looks horrible. And the third resource that I think I would have to recommend that I use on a regular basis, I only got 2. Those are only 2 that I said I can say really, I can't live without. Doc, what do you say?
I was going to say Canva as well. I've definitely invested in the pro plan for Canva. And I've been using it for a couple of years now, and they continue to just add more and more, and the price stays the same. I love that about it. The repository of now they have, what are they called? Stock video footage. The repository of stock photos that you can use. I use a lot of them as backgrounds sometimes. I mean, it's just every time I search for certain key terms, there's more and more options. That is more than worth the money. I think it's like $12 a month or something like that. The platform that I use, Kajabi, houses my online programs. It houses my website as well. And it also serves as an email marketing tool. And so that allows me to be able to do many, many different things from one platform. The third, I would say, would be the investment I make in the podcast hosting. I have a podcast, and that definitely, because it allows me to reach people on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I get to sit with people for half an hour, 45 minutes at a time, all over the country, all over the world.
What podcasting platform do you use for hosting?
I switched to Buzzsprout.
You like Buzzsprout? Okay. And you like it?
So far, so good. I was using Blueberry before.
Yeah, Blueberry. I use Blueberry. I've used Blueberry in SoundCloud.
I didn't like that because I had a WordPress site before, and WordPress was just for me because I consider myself moderately tech savvy, moderately, just to get by. But it was just too much, all the plugins and things like that. And it was a lot of back end stuff that when one thing wasn't updated, everything can go wrong. And so having to use that particular podcasting platform with PowerPress through WordPress, it was a lot.
And so Buzzsprout has been easier, smoother, no problems.
Yep, definitely.
So yeah, and I definitely agree in having a podcast to share, connect. It's another way of getting your information out. I did think of my third thing, and for me, it would be InShot. It's an app on your phone that allows you to bring things together for video content creation. I use it every single day. I use it
Yep.
every day for TikToks, Instagram, and Facebook. So that would be my third resource. So this is something, and please, guys, if you have questions, because we're in the final 15 minutes of this engagement, I really want you to ask those questions. I have an announcement that we are going to talk about towards the end, as well as a little activity that we're going to do. But Brandy wanted to know, I guess, did you build your audience before streaming? And so, and we'll both kind of answer that. And I'll say this, Brandy, is that you know, I taught you. She's an educator. Now, this is an amazing fine arts teacher in Clayton County, who was
Awesome.
a former Kirk kid, once a Kirk kid, always a Kirk kid. You're my built-in audience, right? Like Facebook allows you to connect with all the people that you know, and that is your network. And then from there, you branch out and you continue to build, or that's what I have done.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gained a lot of followers from after having already started with a strong base, then extended out. 5,000 is the max on Facebook. I'm always at 5,000. Now, the thing about me, as you know, I lose followers every week, which is fine because some people come in, they see something, they think I'm the one, and then they realize I'm not the one because they learn what I really believe in terms of my politics. And you know, if you know me, you know I'm unrelenting in my hardcore press to move America forward in a very progressive, yet slower than many progressives way. But I definitely believe that you need to think about your network. You need to think about what type of community you really want and what type of community you're pouring into. And it's never about the number of followers that you have. It's never about the number of people in your network. It's about the level of commitment that you show that network and the level of loyalty that network is going to show back to you, or so I believe. What do you think, Dr. Woodly?
I would have to agree with that. And one of the things that I struggled with, because I had to kind of separate my identity from Shaun versus Dr. Woodly on social media. So I have a personal Facebook page for connecting with high school and college friends, family, things of that nature. And I share random things that just pop off the top of my head. But that's not going to work for me building my audience in this education space. And so I had to start from scratch with doing that. And I struggled initially with how to balance my personality, combining that with education content, because you throw some things out there and you see what sticks. So over a 5-day period, if I post 5 times and one of those things gets more of a response than the other, okay, boom. Next week, I'm going to post more things like that one thing that stuck, and just keep doing that over and over and over again, infusing my personality with my audience, who are educators, aspiring educators that predominantly serve in culturally diverse urban communities. And that is how I was able to, just with consistency, build an audience. And it's still growing, thankfully.
This is my last question that is like a structured question. And it's really, you know, because some people look at what you've achieved, look at all the stuff that you've done, and it's right here what you said, balance. How do you manage and balance all of the work that you do? What's your
Because you know what, I didn't choose this life, it chose me. Like it's just something that I don't struggle with the balance of it, because I integrate it with a lot of things that I do. For example, I try every day when I'm in the car taking my kids to daycare and to school, I use that time to listen to podcasts and audiobooks. I have an Audible subscription. That could have been a fourth thing that I listed, but me and my Audible subscription are like this. I'm always putting something in my brain so that I can continue to learn more. Like, I don't just teach, I also learn. I'm a student of this game. And so that, just having it integrated with me everywhere that I go, with many things that I do. I have my phone with me, where if I come up with an idea, my notes app on my iPhone is pages and pages of just random ideas. And I come home and I get in my office and I put the ideas down in my journal and planner and just get to work. And then when it's time to get the kids, give them baths and all that stuff, do all that, and then I get back in my office, because I have so many ideas and I'm still passionate about it. I don't find it difficult to balance, but I do make sure, one thing that I will not do is and I've slipped a couple of times, but I am a husband and I'm a father. And one thing that I do not do is put this work before my family. I cannot do that, because they are the lifeblood of me. And without them, there would be no Teach, Hustle, Inspire, or anything that comes from this. So in that sense, I do carve out time. I do make time to make sure that I have dinner for my kids. I have to make sure that I give them baths and play outside. My son yesterday, when he came home from school, I was smack in the middle of something, but he said, "Daddy, can you play outside with me?" No problem. Let's go. But like, and here's the thing that I don't want people to miss. Like, I have the ability to do that, because if I'm in a position where I can literally, when I want to, go and play with my kids outside, man. You can't put a price tag on that.
You cannot put a price tag on that. I mean, and for those out there, it's some tough decisions to make.
Yeah.
And it's a tough time to make the decisions. But when you make those decisions to prioritize the things that really matter in your life, like as Dr. Peter says, family first, you will absolutely realize that you've made the right commitment and you've made the right sacrifice. And again, it's all going to be handled. It's all going to work out just fine in the end. It always, always does. So
it's
if
tough
you have
sometimes,
questions,
it's tough. Yeah.
No, it's scary. It's tough and it is scary. But again, you've got to listen to what's in your heart. You've got to have faith, and then you've got to take action. You have to.
And then I'll add to this as well. We're talking about balance. One of the things that I made sure to do early on was make sure that I communicate with my wife, because this life has me on the road a lot. There are certain times of the year where I'm gone 10, 12 times in a month. And I have young children. I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. And so I have to make sure that when daddy is on the road, things are taken care of at home. And that starts with good communication. That starts with me sitting down. My son, it's funny. I tell him some of the things that my dad used to tell me. He's 6 years old, but I instill manhood in him from birth. And I tell him, when daddy's on the road, who's the man of the house? We have those types of conversations, because my dad, I can remember my dad traveling when I was in kindergarten, and he would tell me, when I'm not here, you're the man of the house. Make sure you look after your mom. And even though I know that he knows that, he's 6, but having that sort of mindset and leadership,
that's
capability,
leader mentality.
I mean, I'm instilling that in him with purpose now.
And it's gonna stick. And again, guys, if there are questions you have, ask those questions. But this is what I'm researching Dr. Woodly, preparing this interview, and I find this right here, right? It's a snack. Bearded black men reveal what it's like being in the beard gang. And then I said to myself, look at your face.
Yeah.
I said, look, I looked at myself and I said, look at my face. I'm like, I got to get me a beard so I can be like Dr. Woodly, who has now been deemed by Essence Magazine as one of the, look at this, Bearded Bay. Dr.
You took me back. I forgot about
Woodly
that.
is an Essence Magazine Bearded Bay. So tell us about this Bearded Bay concept, Doc. Tell us about that. Congratulations. I think this is huge, right? I think that oftentimes, like, these outside accolades that we get for being an influencer and making a presence, and because it's about the influence that you've leveraged. There are tons of people out there that probably have great beards, right? But you are someone who has found a way to leverage your work, leverage your influence, inspire other people, and then get recognized for it. Tell us about this accomplishment.
Sure. Well, that was just kind of out of nowhere, to be honest with you. I'm just out here doing what I have to do. I mean, the beard came along. It's funny. It wouldn't grow when I was younger. I had, clearly I'm bald now, but I mean, back in my heyday, I had 360s. I had 360s. I stayed with a brush, at the barbershop, and then late 20s that, I started getting this right here, started going on me. And then I think like 30, 32, I had to let it go. Like, yeah. So it's a struggle for me. You see my daughter in the background.
But again, family first.
Yep. So, I fortunately, when this started going, this started growing, and just out here doing the work. I think I got an email from, I can't remember who it was. But the young lady reached out and said, we're doing a feature on people with beards, and we see you out here doing some more. And you can tell it's old because it has my old Instagram handle. So it's
urban educating.
Yeah. That was the brand, and see, that just goes back to the purpose evolving, because that was the brand when I first opened my Instagram account, starting from nothing.
Look at where you are today. It's a motivation, Doc, to everyone out there. Thank you guys for watching. Now, here's the thing. I know that there are people watching and you tuned in specifically because you know there's something that you want to do as a side hustle, or there's maybe even a whole opportunity that you want to pursue. If you are an aspiring entrepreneur, because I've been thinking about, like, what can I do to empower? What can I do to support? On LinkedIn, I have the LinkedIn group, the Educators Incubator. I need you to, if you haven't already join the group. And I am going to create a $1,000 Edupreneur grant for anyone in the first 100 members group. You can use that first $1,000 to, number one, pay for the build on the side content. How long will they have to buy that, Doc?
It's going to stay up for a little while. So, whenever you get it ready, that's no problem.
So yeah, we're ready, right? So, this is the only thing that we're waiting on is I think for the group, I currently have in the Educators Incubator like 26 people. Once we get, it's called the Educators Incubator, Brandy. Once we get to 100 people, that's what it'll be. I'm going to put all the names in. And of those who are interested in being an entrepreneur, have a live drawing, and bam, you get the $1,000. But for you, Annette, and for you, Brandy, because you've been so active, I'm going to give both of you both text me offline your Cash App, sending you your $100 so that you can go ahead and quickly sign up for Dr. Woodly's course. On tomorrow, I am going to be going live for the first time solely on the LinkedIn platform with the one and only Nick Martin. Nick, this man has 120,000 LinkedIn followers, 120,000, and he wants to talk about how teachers can find careers in the tech space. And this is an opportunity I sought out. He sought me out to bring this platform to educators because there's so many tech jobs wanting teachers. So want you to join us, want you to be there with me. It'll be tomorrow. We're going live at 9. It says 9 p.m. It's not 9 p.m. It's going to be 6 p.m. On tomorrow. Thank you so much, Doc. I appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, Zach. I really do, man. I enjoy this conversation.
And we will be doing this again because I think this is huge and been wonderful. Everybody watching, share the link broadly, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube. I think we dropped some value bombs. I'll talk to you guys soon.